diri kemalangan buta tuli, random accident, dari mempercayakan mereka dicipta oleh pencipta yang maha bijak dan maha kuasa. So in fact, there's now a very strong movement called intelligent design. Which, you don't want to mention the word God, but hey, everything is designed, not random accident. Okay, next week. So, ini pemilihan which, you can choose. Either it is God made or it is born. Next week. Now, tadi kita telah memberitahu bahawa sains itu adalah neutral. In a sense that it can, it doesn't, science neither good nor bad in itself. Tetapi, apa yang kita buat dengan sains, cara yang kita menggunakan sains, iaitu apa? Diberi nama teknologi, that is not neutral. Okay? Sebab dia ada akibat yang baik atau buruk kepada manusia dan juga alam semesta, binatang dan lain-lain organisma di permukaan bumi. Okay? So, the application of science is where you need the guidance of religion. Okay? Sains boleh memberitahu kita pada kita tentang yang tadi even the previous speaker said, nuclear energy. Okay, bahan radioaktif, tenaga nuklear. Okay, you tell you all about it, how you get it, how you handle it, and so on, all that. But what are you going to do with the nuclear energy? Apa yang akan buat dengan itu? You can either buat baik, if you got cancer, you boleh pergi membunuh sel-sel kanser itu dengan bahan pancaran bahan radioaktif, or you can buat jahat, you make a nuclear bomb which can destroy millions of people, just like that. So who helps the scientists to make that kind of decision? We use it for good or for evil. Siapa yang membantunya? So, manusia memerlukan agama atau sekurang-kurangnya sesuatu pandangan dunia, world view, yang melangkau beyond science, melangkau science untuk membantunya membuat pilihan yang berakhlak atau bermoral dan baik untuk semua pihak. Okay? And this is where the danger of the atheistic theory of evolution is. Teori evolusi atheistic sangat bahaya sebab ia bermakna kehidupan kita di dunia ini tidak ada makna. There's no purpose in our existence. Just a lucky accident. Okay? Dan tidak ada tujuan sebab semua wujud hanya berasal dari kemalangan yang bernasibah itu. Dan manusia tak seharusnya bertanggungjawab kepada sesiapa pun atas semua yang dilakukan oleh mereka. If we are all just by random accident, we are not, why bother to be accountable to anybody? It's just me, I and mine. As far as I'm happy, as far as I can progress, why should I bother if others get wiped out? If you push, atheistic evolution to its natural conclusion. Okay? Hukum survival of the fittest dijadikan panduan kepada mereka yang tidak percaya kepada Tuhan atau akhirat. There's nobody to answer to. This existence is all there is. So if that is real, we are living in a very, very terrible and dangerous world. Why should I worry if I'm pushing drugs, I can make millions of dollars, and if you are rich enough to take the drug and menagih dada, and then you have to buy all the drugs from me. After all, I live a happy life. If I can escape from the police, make my money, run off to some place, and then you go and suffer that job. In the end, you all just die and disappear to nothingness. That is the brutal consequence of atheism. And thank God, I'm very certain it is not true. Because God is there, and God can be known, and I know Him personally. Okay? I think we just progress to the last part of the dengan cepat. In the same way that you find in the Quran and in other literature, there's a lot of so-called scientific information which is written there in timeless language, but you take it and compare to what modern science has found out, a lot of it is quite amazing. And we don't know how these ancient people get that knowledge. Many believe that it is because God revealed it to them. Some of this knowledge may even be not from God, but they are other spirits, you can reveal it to them, and you have to make sense of what are you going to do in your life to be able to relate to the spiritual realm and the physical realm, so that your reality is complete. Ada ramai orang bila mereka tahu saya adalah orang Kristian yang mempercayai kepada Tuhan, mereka hairan sebab mereka menganggap bahawa a good scientist cannot be a good religious Christian. But I tell you it's not true. I'm much more happier and I think I'm more complete as a person because I've now found answers to both the physical and the spiritual aspect of life. And all of us need to do that to become true love. Okay? See what time? Okay, let's just go right to the last slide ni. Teruskan sampai akhir. Okay? Next, the books you can read if you are interested. Okay? Just two verses from the Bible. First one is taken from Hebrews 11:3. It says, kerana imanlah, because of faith, kita mengerti bahawa alam itu diciptakan oleh firman Allah, iaitu apa yang dapat dilihat dijadikan daripada apa yang tidak dapat dilihat. Okay? So it's by faith. When God revealed to us, then only we know how did He exist here. He created us. Then the second one is from another Psalm 14 verse 1, much more. Orang bodoh berkata kepada dirinya sendiri, Allah itu tidak ada. Mereka sekalian yang sesat, perbuatan mereka dahsyat, tiada seorang pun melakukan yang benar. So, kalau kita tak percaya kepada Tuhan, we will end up just living our own life, our own way, and we will sin even more. We will contribute to the destruction of this world and to the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee Chai-Ming. Now we have concluded our first round. Now we are coming to the second round. And this second round is the most interesting round because all of you are given the opportunity to ask questions, to put all your questions to our panel tonight. Okay? Now if you have questions, can you see the two mics? We have two stand mics here. Can you see it? If you have questions, please come to the mic and line up, please. And I need to tell you, we have some rules. I need all of you, those who want to ask questions, you have to follow. Few rules here. The rule number one, this session is Q&A session. It's not mini-speak session. So I do not hope that nobody will come go to the mic and present a talk or give a speech. So just put all your questions briefly in one or two sentences. Keep your question, make it short. The number two, please put all ask questions pertaining to the subject tonight. Number three, when you put all your questions, please stop close to the mic and stay there. Okay? Until the speaker will answer your question, then only you leave. Is it okay? Okay. Are you ready to ask questions?
Yeah.
Please go to the mic now. For the sister, you can stand at the back. For the brother, you stand in front here. It's fine for the brother. If sister, you have questions, please come in front of your brother. It's fine for you. Sister, you have any questions? Anybody have questions? Please stand up. Please come to the mic. So, are you ready? Okay. I would like to invite the first brother to put forward your question. Please put forward your question.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nama saya Muhammad Syukur bin Darussa, Akademik Media Islam, Jabatan Akidah dan Fikiran Islam. Ingin menanyakan dua persoalan yang sering timbul di kalangan masyarakat sekarang. Salam pertama, dalam Al-Quran ada dua ayat yang menyatakan satu hari di sisi Allah bersamaan dengan 1000 tahun di dunia ini. Dan dalam ayat yang lain menyatakan satu hari di sisi Allah bersamaan dengan 50,000 tahun dunia. Mr. penjelasan daripada Brother Syakiri. Soalan kedua,
one question at a time. If you have question, the next question, please queue up. Okay, back. Is it okay? Okay. Thank you. Brother Shah,
Itu kan hanya mata.
okay. Terima kasih atas soalan yang ditanya tadi. Menurut soalan tadi, dikatakan kononnya di dalam Al-Quran ini ada percandahan, di mana satu tempat disebut satu hari di sisi Allah sama dengan 1000 tahun, dan di ayat lain disebut 50,000 tahun. Yang saudara rujuk ini sebenarnya adalah daripada surah Hajj, surah 22 ayat nombor 47, dan juga surah Sejadah surah 32 ayat nombor 5, di mana Allah Subhanahu wa taala berfirman satu hari di sisi Allah sama dengan 1000 tahun, dan ayat yang mengatakan satu hari sama dengan 50,000 tahun itu adalah dari surah Ma'arij surah nombor 70 ayat nombor 4. Tetapi sebenarnya tidak berlaku percandahan kalau kita memahami dari segi konsepnya, ya. Yang pertama sekali, apabila disebut satu hari di sisi Allah sama dengan 1000 tahun ataupun 50,000 tahun, ini menunjukkan masa bagi Allah tidak sama dengan masa bagi manusia. Sebab we human beings, we are bound by time and space, but Almighty God is not bounded by time and space. Poin satu, ya. Poin kedua, bila kita sebut dalam bahasa Arab Yaum dalam bahasa Arab boleh berarti satu hari, tetapi Yaum juga boleh berarti satu jangka masa yang panjang, an effort, a long period of time. Sekarang kalau kita bukan guna sebagai satu hari tetapi jangka masa, lebih tepat. Dan bila saya kata tidak berlaku percandahan, sebab 3 ayat tadi menceritakan 3 perkara berbeza. Percandahan hanya berlaku apabila ceritanya sama tetapi faktanya berbeza. Ini sekarang 3 cerita berbeza. Dalam surah Ahad surah kedua ayat 47 dinyatakan hukuman daripada Allah jatuh kepada manusia, jangka masa ini sama dengan 1000 tahun kita. Surah Sejadah surah 32 ayat nombor 5 mengatakan setiap urusan naik kepada Allah, jangka masanya sama dengan 1000 tahun manusia. Surah Ma'arij surah 70 ayat nombor 4 mengatakan bahawa malaikat dan roh naik kepada Allah, jangka masanya adalah 50,000 tahun manusia. So ini bukan percandahan. Contoh kalau saya kata daripada Kuala Lumpur saya memandu kereta ke Shah Alam, saya ambil masa 1 jam. Dari Kuala Lumpur saya pergi ke Seremban, saya ambil masa 1 jam. Dari Kuala Lumpur saya memandu kereta ke Chiang Mai, Thailand, saya ambil 50 jam. Adakah itu percanggahan? Tidak, sebab 3 destinasi berbeza. Saya harap itu menjawab persoalan tadi. Terima kasih. Kita ya, kita yang berkuasa. Itu boleh betul.
Tak patut.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Soalan ini ditujukan kepada Puan Jemala. Saya pernah dengar cerita bahawa Tuhan Krishna mempunyai 16,080 orang isteri dan 160,080 orang anak. Adakah dia benar? Adakah dia logik kalau ikut sains kan? Adakah seorang tu boleh sampai 160,000 orang anak? Minta penjelasan daripada
Terima kasih. Yang tadi yang Cik ceritakan itu adalah daripada konsep Veda. Itu adalah satu agama lain yang datangnya daripada British dalam 3 atau 4,000 tahun yang lalu. Di situ mereka mempunyai konsep yang dipanggil animisme, iaitu sembah pada kuasa-kuasa yang berlainan. Jadi saudara di situ kena faham tentang di situ ada satu epik Purana, dan isteri-isteri yang dimasukkan di situ adalah dalam bentuk lambang, simbol. Jadi saudari kena faham the whole epic, baru saudari tahu apakah tujuan mereka kata isteri. Dan Lord Krishna yang disebutkan dalam agama tersebut bukanlah seperti kita, dan kehidupan suami isteri di situ bukanlah seperti kehidupan suami isteri kita di sini. Di situ konsepnya berlainan, iaitu dengan roh, dengan Tuhan. Mereka panggil roh ini sebagai jiwatma dan Tuhan itu sebagai paramatma. Dan di situlah diwujudkan satu perkataan berkahwin itu. Sebenarnya perkataan asal itu daripada Sanskritnya bukan maksudnya berkahwin, tetapi roh ini berada bersampingan dengan Tuhan dan dia akan merasai kegembiraan seolah-olah kita rasa di dunia ini seperti suami isteri. Itu contoh yang diberikan. Kemudian apabila di-elaborate dalam bahasa-bahasa yang berlainan, benda itu turun seolah-olah seperti Tuhan itu ada isteri yang begitu. Okay? Dan itu adalah dalam agama yang satu lagi yang dinamakan agama Veda. Okay, terima kasih.
Thank you very much. Next question, brother. You have a question? Please go for your question. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good evening. Untuk question, saya minta izin untuk cakap Melayu. Mengikut pernyataan Profesor Dr. Lee Taiping tadi menyatakan bahawa kita tidak dapat mengenali pasti kebenaran evolusi kecuali dengan kita ada time machine. Kita balik semula ke masa lampau dan kita tahu bahawa kebenaran evolusi itu. Jadi saya nak tanya kepada semua panelis untuk mengesahkan atau membuktikan adakah agama-agama yang di depan saya ini, banyak penulis agama dapat membuktikan dengan jelas bahawa teori evolusi itu benar ataupun salah, ya, tanpa menggunakan time machine, tetapi dengan kekuatan yang ada pada agama itu sendiri dapat membuktikan bahawa evolusi itu benar ataupun salah. Thank you. Okay, like I told you, it's a very strange thing that people find that I'm teaching the course of evolution in the geology department because I'm the fossil expert. So people say, how can you teach evolution and then someday even preach in the church, from the Bible? So sebenarnya it's no problem because evolution is the natural explanation. If you rule out that there's any miracle, kalau awak mengikut kadar sains sekarang yang ditetapkan haknya, yang tidak boleh membenarkan apa-apa penjelasan dari luar dari physical, then the conclusion you come up with the best explanation for the variety of life sekarang is evolusi. Yang disokong oleh microevolution yang kita boleh lihat, misalnya ada banyak jenis anjing yang beraneka bentuk atau manusia, ada yang berkulit hitam, berkulit coklat atau apa, mengikut dia duduk di kawasan yang panas atau kawasan yang sejuk dan sebagainya. Microevolution is no problem, but to say that everything comes therefore can be explained by evolution, kita ada banyak masalah even within science. Because some all the experiments they finish produce amino acids and all that, we cannot produce life. What is this part of life? Breath of life. So if you look at now religion, some people have tried to tie in the sequence in Genesis, kejadian, put plant life before animal life, and so on all that. The cosmology, in fact I have a chart shows it. Maybe boleh dipakangkan, then you can slowly while we are talking and look at it. It matches very well with what actually modern science has come out about the sequence of the theory. Yang chapter cosmology itu boleh letaknya di situ lah bila kita bincang. So, and of course evolution is a new concept. It's not in any of the books. But the concept that life is in berperingkat, bukan one shot everything is there. Then of course another question you may not have asked, but some people have problem with it. Chapter number 12, I think, 12. If the world created in 6 days, which means we have a very young Earth, okay, or is it in many billions of years, macam yang scientists memberitahu kepada kita? To me, that's actually a very simple question to answer. If you limit yourself to the natural investigation of radioactive minerals and so on, your conclusion you come up at present is the Earth is 4.6 billion years old. Universe is about 13 to 15 billion years old. Tetapi kalau kejadian itu adalah satu mukjizat yang the biggest miracle that God has created, to create everything, the the God powerful enough to create everything in a miracle. Masa itu tak ada apa-apa masalah bagi dia. Dia boleh mencipta bumi dalam masa 6 second, 6 saat, 6 minit, 6 bulan, 6 tahun, 6,000 tahun, any time he choose, he can what? So if he choose to do in 6 days, I have no problem with that, because it's miracle. But you will never find out that in 6 days, if he doesn't wahyukan kepada anda. By your natural investigation, your conclusion will be, it's 4.6 million years old, whatever it is. And I can give you an illustration to illustrate that. Suppose in the old days when we are still using tape recorder, the other tape recorder kita dibeli anda, dan saya bagi awak satu tape yang the playback time is 1 hour of very nice music lah. Dan saya tanya anda, berapa lama you think I need to produce the tape? You say, oh 1 jam, sebab 1 jam encoding, 1 jam mesti encoding. And if I tell you that saya menghasilkan tape itu dalam 5 minit, you call me a liar, awak bohong. Why? Sebab kalau mengikut teknologi yang anda tahu, 1 jam encoding mesti dari 1 jam decoding mesti dari 1 jam encoding. You won't believe me, the technology is below me. So, kini saya membawa anda pergi ke mesin high-speed taping saya dan tunjuk kepada awak bahawa ia boleh dilakukan. So, I mewahyukan kepada anda bahawa that is possible. Then only you believe me. With the little machine, you never believe me. Okay? So, same thing. If God tells I created the world in 6 days, with our limited, knowledge, we say tak boleh, tak mungkin. And if he has done it and he showed it to us, we believe that thing. I believe it. After if everything that exists is a miracle, what is that? It's nothing, man. Okay, terima kasih. I hope that answers some of it. Thank you. Those who believe in evolution, we have to respect their belief. They also do not know whether there is evolution or not, but they believe. Those who do not believe in evolution, we also have to respect that they do not believe, because they also do not know the answer. Actually, nobody knows whether there is evolution or no evolution. All the arguments we have today so far are all arguments. So Charles Darwin came up with his theory. It's not called a law yet, it's called a theory. And this debate started since that time. The famous debate between the Archbishop of Canterbury and Huxley. They quarrel from that until today. We are still quarreling. Why we are still quarreling? Because both sides do not know. That is the real answer, I can tell you. Both sides do not know the answer. That's why we have something to debate. Okay? Now, if you want interesting stories, I can tell you some stories also. In the Buddhist scripture, it's mentioned that how this earth came about. This earth came about because some other earth, some other planetary system disappeared. That's all. And it's a continuity into infinity. In Buddhism, the time concept has no beginning and end. From infinity to infinity. You all study science, you all know. Meaning of infinity. So, from certain earth system disappeared, this planetary system appeared. After several billions of years, the scriptures use the word aeon. 1 aeon is equal to, the time equivalent is equal to 1 piece of stone, 6 mile by 6 mile by 6 mile. Every 100 years, one person comes with a fine strip of kazi, give it a rub, and finally that stone disappears. That's called 1 aeon. So you know the conception of time. So the time took so long. And then eventually, when this earth is sufficiently conducive for life, then life from other planetary systems came here. When human beings first came here, we were all very light, floating in the air. Then after that, we consumed solid food, we consumed things, then after that our body became heavier, then we are grounded on the floor. At first we were unisex, and Charles Darwin's theory of evolution also began with unisex. Maybe it's by coincidence, but anyway in the Buddhist story also we were unisex.
and then after that they become bisexual. But of course, there are also borderline cases. That's why we have a lot of quantans and maybe they are our ancient. So then after that, human beings live on this earth. Then because different factors, they kawin, they produce children, and so on. And then we will live on for many more years until one day the earth disappears. Okay? It's not conducive, and then we will migrate to another world. Okay? But anyway, just enjoy it as interesting story. Thank you very much.
Dalam agama Saiwa atau agama Hindu, kedua-dua Veda atau Saiwa, saya rasa tak ada konsep revolusi. Maksudnya kalau soalan saudara ialah tentunya adakah dari seekor monyet sekarang wujudnya manusia. Kalau itulah konsep yang tadi saudara tanya, kita tiada. Dalam agama Saiwa kita tidak mempunyai konsep revolusi. Agama Saiwa mengatakan bahawa Tuhan mewujudkan segala-galanya daripada satu bahan yang dinamakan cosmic matter. Maya kita panggil. Itu ialah satu benda bukan hidup. Satu seperti satu tanah liat. Dari situlah Tuhan wujudkan segala benda bukan hidup yang kita lihat pada hari ini, termasuk planet, tubuh badan dan sebagainya. Dan Tuhan tak pernah cipta roh. Tuhan masukkan roh itu dalam badan-badan yang tertentu, dan kehidupan kita pada hari ini ialah untuk mendapat pengalaman. Dan melalui pengalaman itu, roh ini akan mendapat pengetahuan yang dinamakan ilmu duniawi, ilmu ketuhanan. Dan ilmu ketuhanan ini kita panggil Jnanam. Sekali roh ini, Jnanam kita panggil. Dan ilmu